Timelines in video games caused me to worry way too much as a kid. I know that may sound odd, but hear me out. The general flow of a game's story from beginning to end can be weird sometimes. Just like in real life, being at a specific place at a specific time can mean everything. I felt like this was something I didn't have to worry about much prior to the Nintendo 64 either, as most of the games I played were standard side-scrollers where story elements happened in between levels, or at the end of them. But the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation turned that completely upside down for me. The first time I played through the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, I missed an event that baffled tons of people, but I never knew it existed. I was at the wrong place at the wrong time, so the event passed without me ever even experiencing it. That's why we're turning back the clock today, to revisit one of Ocarina of Time's strangest scenes that so many people, including myself, overlooked. This is the mystery of the Dying Guard, and how this one scene is a clue to something much bigger. Up until this point, I've produced quite a lot of Nintendo-focused content. Honestly, I absolutely love it, but sometimes games from other platforms or even super short-form content doesn't do so hot on YouTube. That's why I've been trying out Amino's new story feature lately, as it feels a bit different than short video formats I've seen elsewhere. There's a lot of things I want to talk about in games that I can't always make YouTube videos on. So if you want to see what I've been up to, check out my Amino stories by clicking the link in the description below, or search for Amino apps and download Amino. You can find my stories by searching for SwankyBox. And while you're there, be sure to follow me for the latest stories. Just like on YouTube, every time you watch my content on Amino, you'll be supporting me, which I greatly appreciate. So click the link in the description below, search for SwankyBox, and then check out my recent story about messing with Link's size in Ocarina of Time. Link goes from an ant to an absolute giant. And I want to thank Amino for sponsoring this video and supporting me as a creator. Missing out in video games sucks. Obviously, you could replay the game, but for longer games, it can be quite the ordeal, especially in the days prior to YouTube. Nowadays, you can always look up what you missed, but this wasn't always the case. Obviously, we're talking about Zelda here, but this concept amplified itself in other games too for me, especially longer RPGs like Star Ocean: The Second Story, Legend of Mana, etc. By missing these things and hearing about the things I missed, I feel like I developed severe in-game FOMO, or the fear of missing out, and that kinda sucked. From that point forward, you play the game while always double-checking everything, and overall, wasting a lot of time. But I digress. Let's rewind and place our childhood hero outside of Hyrule Castle Town, prior to his quests exploding in scope. In The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, we obviously need to collect all 3 spiritual stones to open the door of time from a story perspective. Some of you skilled players out there might just backflip side hop through the door like a boss, but let's focus on the game's actual story. Link gathers the stones, and upon doing so, is confronted by Zelda and Impa rushing out of the castle, with Ganondorf in hot pursuit. Link gets blasted, picks up the ocarina, and then proceeds to the Temple of Time. But let's stop this right here. This is where our mystery starts. Now, Ganondorf just came plowing through the town on a horse chasing the princess. The sky was dark and evil was afoot. But everything in town seems completely fine. You talk to the guard up front, and he cheerfully welcomes you into the town, despite everything that just took place here. People in the main town area do comment that horses came plowing through, but nothing about the ash-black sky. Town-wise, everything seems fine, so you do what you're supposed to do. You head to the Temple of Time and kick off your quest. But once you turn into an adult, Sheik blocks you from returning to a child until you've completed the Forest Temple. So for the next few hours, you'll be doing just that. But the thing is, if we head in the opposite direction, as in the alleyway instead of the Temple of Time, that's when we run into this strange occurrence I mentioned earlier. The thing I missed when I played this as a kid, that completely disappears when you advance the story. In the back part of the alley is a guard who's collapsed against the wall. No one is around either, and he doesn't look at you or even move like other people do when you walk by. But when we talk to him, he springs to life and relays the following, quote, "Ugh, are you the boy from the forest? I finally met you. I have something to tell you. Ganondorf, the Gerudo King of Thieves, betrayed our king. Zelda's nanny Impa sensed danger and escaped from the castle with our princess. I tried to stop Ganondorf's men from chasing them, but the princess was waiting for a boy from the forest. That's you. She wanted to give something to the boy. If you received it from the princess, hurry to the Temple of Time." End quote. When he finishes his dialogue, he spazzes out for a moment before falling to the side and becoming still. If Link tries to examine him, the game says he's not moving anymore. The Hyrule Guard just died in front of us, and I feel like if I actually saw this as a kid, it would have freaked me out a bit. The worst part is, we aren't able to tell anyone about this soldier. Everyone else just carries on with their dialogue as usual. If we re-enter the alleyway, we'll find he's sitting upright again, but he's still dead. As a child, I would have thought someone moved his body, but now I know the game just loaded his default animation pose again. But all of this still doesn't make any sense. Before dying, the guard claimed that he tried stopping Ganondorf's soldiers from chasing Zelda and Impa, but where are Ganondorf's men? Why was no one else hurt during this raid? If it all happened to the castle, why is the guard here? It seems extremely bizarre to only have one person mention any of this. One townsperson in particular claims something probably happened to the castle, but that's about it. The weirdest part of this whole guard encounter is that he was obviously fatally wounded at the castle, based on what we read in the game, but somehow he made his way all the way here unnoticed. Everyone else is still chipper and carrying on like usual, only with some dialogue swaps. This whole ordeal is very similar to the Hyrule Castle raid in a precursor Ocarina of Time comic I covered in another video. But I have a theory as to why this guard exists. So let's quickly go over this entire scene. Heading towards the castle, the gate is still closed, and it wouldn't make sense to let a dying guard hobble through the entire field and gate to go to the town and die. If he was trying to warn people or something, a healthy guard probably would have ran there. There's literally a healthy guard still standing by on the path to the castle too. So Ganondorf's men could have been an internal castle-based event, but this guard is an outlier. Townsfolk were startled by the horse and are talking about it. But no one mentioned a dying guard, who would have totally made everyone panic, by the way, who entered the town and then hid instead of asking for help. So what gives? This doesn't really make any sense, and that's why I believe this guard was left behind by mistake by developers. The story and what happened may have been different. Let me explain. I believe the town area used to have a changed state that is no longer in the game. Think of it as an in-between state that was in the middle of the town's normal cheerful state and the ruined town of the future. Everything the guard talked about had to have occurred because it caused him to die, but what he says almost exists in a vacuum. He gives us the only information pertaining to what happened. This means he had to have been at the castle, but also in the town, since he wouldn't have made it here wounded. Perhaps there was supposed to be a state of the town where it was damaged from Ganondorf's men attacking, but it complicated the hero's journey to the Temple of Time too much. Instead of heading directly to the next phase of the game, the player would have been distracted, talk to everyone about the damage, and will go on to explore Hyrule Castle instead. Since everything seems normal, and people all have extremely similar dialogue, most players head straight to the temple to continue the story. After talking to 3 or so people who all say similar things, you get the gist of it and move on. If the town was attacked while Ganondorf was moving towards the castle though, then it would definitely explain how the guard got here and died, as there was both fighting at the castle and in the town. Ganondorf and his men had to have come through the town regardless on their way to the castle, as there are no other paths to get there, especially if Ganondorf was on horseback. Without this dying guard, we would have never known Ganondorf had armed forces with him. So my theory is that's how the original storyline went. But instead of erasing all aspects of this scene, they forgot to delete one character. The story was changed so that Ganondorf chased Zelda and Impa out of the castle by himself, and thus no one in town ever comments about the other people besides those 3. Because the dying soldier is on a separate map, he was overlooked when the scene was revised. These different maps are also why the main guard by the front of Hyrule Castle Town says absolutely nothing about the horses racing through, despite how he was the one who had to probably open the gate to let Zelda out. Remember, the gate is up when the cutscene first began, and then it opens, so him being oblivious is super strange. The castle gate would only be closed if there was danger too, because it's closed no matter what time of day it is during the scene. The castle gate being up no matter what time of day it is means something was wrong, either at the castle or in the town. It being up is like a defense mechanism. It doesn't let people come in, but it also doesn't let people escape. All of this hints that the events of Hyrule Castle Town were changed heavily and the cleanup process wasn't the most thorough. Now, you may be thinking, but he's still in Ocarina of Time 3D. If he wasn't supposed to be there, why is he still in the remake? And to that, I have to say that the seed was already planted. Different teams work on different projects. The people who did the 3D version of the game probably are not the same people at all who made the original, so they just use what they're given without questioning why it is there. and so it's replicated. In the manga, Hyrule Castletown is assaulted and the castle is overrun. Gandorf and monsters do attack, which makes sense, but it makes you wonder if they wrote this scene in as well, simply based off the dialogue of this random guard. Instead of the scene taking place as a kid, it takes place during the adult timeline in the manga 7 years later, immediately when Link exits the Temple of Time for the first time. In this scenario, the guard doesn't die, but he sits to rest against a wall, similar to how he can be found sitting in the game. So the dying soldier, while being strange and unsettling, may have been a hint at something greater overall. Some say they even encounter his ghost for a few frames when loading the area sometimes, which is quite spooky. But overall, what are your thoughts and experiences on the dying guard? Any good stories? Thoughts on the theory? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And with that, thanks for tuning in for this alternative look at this strange occurrence. I got lots of other cool topics, so check them out. Thanks for watching, guys and gals, and until my next video, cheers.